Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning if you're in the USA. Good evening if you're in Singapore. Good day if you're watching the replay. I have no idea what time it is. It's really great to have you in conversation with Graeme Codrington again. And today I'm joined by Nigel Risner. Now, Nigel, I've been on the speaking circuit for about 20 years, and I believe you were already a veteran when I started. I know it doesn't look
like it. I've been going since 1937, I think, you know.
I think so. Yeah. No, that's what I'd heard from everybody. But Nigel, I mean, I've known about you for 20 years. Your passion is communication, communicating, and helping other people to communicate more. You're based out of the UK. And as I say, I think you're one of the legends of the industry, and it's wonderful to have you joining me in conversation today.
Well, I'm honored to be with a proper doctor, a world #1 authority, a futurist. You know, I left school at 16. I left school before I was 16 with 2 GCSEs, 2 O-levels, one in religious knowledge and one in business studies. And I now joke that I now have an MBA, except mine stands for a massive bank account. And I think that's the only MBA you want to have. But, you know, I get that you're very well qualified, and I'm humbly not. But, you know, doing the best I can with what I've got, you know.
Well, in fact, that's part of the reason why I wanted to speak to you today, because you've come at this issue of communication and helping people to communicate better, not with a whole bunch of academic theories, not with some...
Sorry, no theories. I read a book once. I read a book.
I'm sure you have. I won't argue with you. But the point is, you do a magnificent job. And part of this In Conversation series is trying to help people to, once they've kind of got over the crisis mindset of COVID and are beginning to look ahead and saying, you know, what's going to happen for the rest of 2020, or, you know, what do we have to do to get our lives and our businesses going again? Absolutely, for me, surely near the top of the pile is going to need to be your ability to communicate your vision, to communicate to your customers, to communicate to your staff, to get a message across. Communication is always important, but I've
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If you think it's near the top of the pile, I'm curious what you think is above communication. I mean, I want you to use as an example. I know you're happily married. You've got 3 daughters.
Yeah.
Tell me what's more important than good communication at home.
No, that is a jolly good question. I suppose
I only ask good questions, Graeme. So tell me what's more important. Let's challenge you, the futurist, already.
Yeah.
Tell me something that's more important than communication.
Well, I suppose I was thinking about, but all of this, I'm kind of like double checking myself in my own head trying to answer you.
You're an elephant, you see. That's exactly what elephants do, okay?
Okay.
The question wasn't complicated. I just asked a really simple question. Tell me what's more important than communication. And I saw your brain go into whirlwind mode. It was like, hold on, I've asked a question. He's challenged me back. I can't look stupid. I'm the authority. I'm the world's #1 futurist. And he's asked me a simple question. And that's the problem about communication. Because people will do this and say, well, it's one of the most important things. And I always ask, well, tell me something that's more important than communication. So when you go home tonight to your wife, don't talk.
Don't
speak to your daughters. Don't talk and say, I'm thinking about the future.
That's not going to go well. That's not going to go well.
But that's what I'm talking about. Even at its most basic level, if you don't know communication, and I've said a bit of a lie to you here, because half of your communication is internal and half of it is external. So here I am, and you're going to laugh at this. I've got an authority who's qualified, who's a doctor, who's probably got an MBA, who's got every award in the sun, except the PSAE, which I got a year before you. Just I thought I'd share that. But you've got all those qualifications. And internally, to me, before we started this webinar, as you know, I had a problem with my computer. So my self-talk was, I'm stupid. I'm not good enough. I've never heard of Webinar Jam. And I've beaten myself up and gotten in my own way because of my internal communication. Forget the future. I can't even get online today never mind today, tomorrow, the future, and all the rest of that stuff. So before we've even started our debate, my internal communication is, I am not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not educated enough. And then I'm going to be interviewed, and I've all of a sudden got to be portrayed as this world leader. So I want you to understand that communication is twofold: internal and external. And you know that you're about to go and see a G7 summit. You're about to talk to world leaders, because I know that's what you do. And just before you go in there, your wife rings you to say, you didn't leave milk money, you didn't leave the lunch money, and you didn't do what you were said to do. And internally, your dialogue will be what, do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe similar to what you've just been saying. As you say, you were fighting your computer up until 5 minutes ago, and you're kind of thinking, am I really good enough as a father, as a parent, as a husband?
That's where that imposter syndrome comes in. So if that's the internal dialogue, and then you've got to face a G7 summit, you've got to face the political commentary, you've got to face chief exec groups, which we both do. You can't even communicate externally because you don't feel good enough about yourself. So I just wanted to clarify that with you, that communication is so huge that before you even start opening the door to speak to people, how you talk to yourself is massive. There was a lovely quote from Princess Diana. She said, if I spoke to my friends the way I spoke to myself, I wouldn't have any friends.
Wow. Wow. What a thought,
One of the most glamorous women in the world, leading women in the world, who doesn't think she's enough.
Yeah.
Then I come onto this type of talk, and I've got to quickly change my self-talk. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm looking twice as dark as you. Obviously, you haven't done any work. Obviously, you've done too much work and not been in the sun. And all that self-talk is going on, and I've got to externalize my thoughts. So I'm still going to ask you the question, what's more important than communication?
So where my head was going, so now you've given me the opportunity, was to say, I think what was more important in my head, the reason I put sort of communication second or third, is you've got to have something to communicate.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's part of communication, isn't it? So communication isn't just what you say or what you write. I mean, in terms of the actual technical aspects of speaking, but it's also the formulation of what must be said and what mustn't be said. There's always more that could be said. So good communication is, I suppose, the whole process. And if that's the case, then there isn't. You got me. There isn't anything.
I just want you to repeat that. There is nothing more important. I want the doctor, the #1 futurist in the world, just to repeat that. There's nothing more important than communication. Is that right?
I know, Nigel, you're probably going to take this video later and cut it up into different pieces. So here we go. This is
Graeme. If I was an elephant like you, I could cut it up. The only thing that's going to get done as a monkey, all of this is going to get played out because I'm not clever enough for your safe. Otherwise, all you're going to hear is communication is #1.
So I agree entirely with Nigel Risner, my expert friend, that communication is the most important thing in the whole world. And if you get it wrong, everything.
Thank you very much indeed. I can go. My life is complete.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have joined us, you haven't joined a zoo as you've dived into this webinar. In fact, possibly you have, because in actual fact, this is what happens all the time. Even when you have there's no such thing as a quiet beer with Nigel, but if you try and just have a small little conversation, this is how it goes all the time. You see the energy and everything else. And Nigel, what you did with that a number of years ago is, and you've been talking elephants and monkeys, we're going to have to help people to understand, because this is, I think, the genius. You wanted to take this issue of communication and help people to really understand it. And where I was going is not with some psychometric framework that's got all sorts of psychometric words and you've got to go and study it in detail, but with something that was easy to understand, easy to apply, and nobody would forget. And you, I see the picture behind the back of your head there. You decided to use different animals, right, to kind of show different profiles of the way in which different people communicate and respond to communication. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
But it's interesting that, so the original concept started that I was at Whipsnade Zoo doing an event for the Junior Chamber of Commerce. And now I'm a monkey, so I have a very short attention span. I'm lively, I'm persuasive, well, but I'm very good at detail. Now, if you're not very good at detail, one of the problems you've got is that you're talking to people and your mind drifts. And what happened to me was I saw this guy in the left-hand corner of my eye, and he was a zookeeper with about 9 buckets of food, and each bucket was labeled lions, tigers, elephants, monkeys, etc. And on the very back of his brown overall, it said zookeeper. And I was amazed that if he knew what food to feed the animals, he'd probably get great results. And that was the beginning of my animal model. Now, it's interesting. I've just now lost you on my screen. So I'm hoping.
No. I'm still here. I'm just giving you the stage. This is me just stepping to the side and giving you the stage.
Okay, so let me tell you about monkeys. Monkeys need feedback. So the minute I lost you there, it was like, what happened to me?
I'll stay and wave, but make sure you know I'm still here.
It's just much easier for me. This is one of the issues for live speakers, that, you know, when I'm on stage, I can see the different animals. Then I've been asked all these webinars, and often I'm talking to myself. So I now insist, as one of my ground rules, that I have a little friendly face somewhere on the screen so I can talk to somebody. So all of a sudden, it's like, where have you gone? You've left me. And that's interesting, because that's another dynamic of monkeys, that we need interaction. If you watch monkeys that are grooming other monkeys, monkeys that are solitary, monkeys that get kicked out of the clan, monkeys that get kicked out of their teams, literally die very quickly. So you can't have monkeys on their own. Whereas someone like you, who does a lot of work on their own, who can sit in the study, who can do a webinar, who can journal, you've quite liked this lock-in in a way.
I know. I've prepared my whole life to be in solitary confinement. I'm loving this.
But there's the point. So you've got different animals in families or in the workplace, and it's no different. So I know you've got 3 daughters, haven't you?
That's correct, yeah.
Your first daughter is very, very different to your second daughter.
Oh, no doubt, absolutely. Chalk and cheese.
Yes, but the reason is that when your first daughter started to walk and she fell, you had the SAS, you had the South African Defence Army Force, you had the ambulance, you had 19 paramedics on their way to sort out your precious baby, okay?
Yes, yes.
When your second child fell over, these were the words you said. It's okay, everyone falls, get up when you can. And you kissed their knee, and that's all you did. So your first child grows up to be much more what I call lion elephant, and your second child is much more monkey dolphin. And we'll talk about that a bit on. So even within the first 5 years of growing up, you're forming communication and you're forming the way you've been spoken to. Now let's go to the two of us.
So Nigel, what happens? Sorry, if I can just ask, what happens to the third daughter, who I didn't even notice falling half the time?
Yeah, well, no. See, this is the point. So what happens is the third daughter has an issue because she doesn't get heard a lot, because you have the special princess who has her own toys, and no one will share them. The second one is disruptive. Yeah. Okay, and wants to break the toys. And the third child has to be very, very nice, hold mummy's hand, stay around the kitchen,
and act as a mediator between all the others.
Yeah. And that's why they're nearly always dolphins, who are caring, nurturing, supportive, patient. So even in a young family with only 3 members, I can identify, just if I was at your house for dinner and they all had, and I couldn't see them, and I heard how they spoke, and if they were all exactly the same height, I would know who was first, second, and third children.
You'd still know.
Now, and you were right. I have no qualifications. What I am brilliant at doing, the only thing I'm brilliant at doing, is watching people and seeing how they behave.
Absolutely.
And you and I have been to enough conferences where there's a buffet. Would you agree?
Yeah, always.
Okay. The lions will go in first and start circling and pick off the roast beef, the smoked salmon. Okay. The monkeys will fill up everything on their plate in the very beginning. And by the time they get to the good stuff, they've got no room.
There's no room on the plate.
The elephants will start surveying to see protein. They're not going to mix their protein. They're not going to mix their vegetables.
Check the table first. You do a complete check first. I mean, it's the most obvious thing to do. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it.
And the dolphins just eat the crap that's left, because that's all there is. And that's what happens all the time. Have you ever had a box of Lindt chocolate? Have you had Lindt chocolate? LINDT? The box was designed for all the animals. You open up the box, there's pictures, okay, of the chocolates. There's even instruction sheets for how the chocolates are made, the calories, if there's any allergies. For the lions, there's always 4 chocolates in the corners that are wrapped in silver or gold.
Okay.
And the monkeys will go to the second tray before the first tray is finished. So I can watch someone just eating chocolate, watch them at a buffet, and I can look at what their communication styles are before I even think about a psychometric test. And the reason why I have an issue with psychometric testing is when you and I go shopping, and we want to order salmon or we want to order some bagels or whatever, I haven't got time to ask the guy behind the counter, if you could just fill in the psychometric test first, then I'll know how to communicate with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Great speakers are great listeners. And the greatest speakers are the best listeners. Now, deaf people make great communicators because they have to listen.
Yes.
So they have to watch you, and they can't leave the room. My big phrase, as you know, is if you're in the room, be in the room.
Yeah.
And I'm never in the room because I'm always thinking about everything else. But if I was deaf, I would have to watch you moment by moment. And you've been in seminars where there's someone deaf in the front, someone signing to them. I swear to God, go up to them at the end of your conference and ask them, what did you say? And they will repeat verbatim what you said. The monkeys heard you say something that in the future you'll be able to eat whatever chocolate you like, and then we've turned off. They haven't heard the world's going to crash, but I heard something about chocolate. The lions have heard that the world will be okay if you're rich and if you've got money. And the elephants are still waiting for your 3rd edition of the latest book because there'll be another appendix.
Yes.
So the more you're aware and listen to people, so you know I work with Jeff Ram quite a lot. So we sometimes are on stage together. Now you've got 2 monkeys on stage. We have no script. We're playing. And very often we will leave a chunk of our material out because we're both having so much fun.
Yes. You guys would be my worst nightmare to try and collaborate with, because I want everything organized in advance. I want to double check the setup. I want to know who's speaking first and who's speaking second, and how long they take.
Steph Duplessis is a good friend of yours, because that is Steph all over.
Yes.
And I can't be like that.
No,
I've still got equipment in my house from Steph from 15 years ago. I have notepads. I have frames. If he could, he would bring chairs and laptops and a screen to everywhere he goes, because that's the way he operates. I have one memory stick. That's all I have in my armory of equipment. I turn up somewhere with one memory stick, a mobile phone, 4 animal hats, and that is all of my equipment.
I absolutely could not do that. That would just be too much for me. But this is the point, Nigel, isn't it? And this is really why I wanted to chat to you, because a lot of teams, a lot of organizations have got into a certain rhythm of communication and engagement. And if you're in the office all day, every day with everybody else, you may not have had the language of these 4 different animals, but you had some sense of your boss needs structure. The marketing guy's a monkey and is a little bit all over the place. So you kind of knew that even if you didn't have the language. Now I think the problem is, if we're going to be in an extended time where we're going to be doing online communication and engagement, I think it's hugely stressful for people, because you don't have those physical cues anymore, and you don't have the old habits. And we might not have been as deliberate about understanding other people's styles. We just naturally went with what worked in the office. I think now it's important for people to be more deliberate. And I think that's your view at the moment, that being more deliberate about connecting with different people in different ways is one of the keys to getting out of this crisis safely and successfully, as a team, as a family, as whatever kind of unit.
And if you think of Zoom, because that's how I do lots of my presentation, you've got the celebrity squares of anything between 20 and 500 people on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And for monkeys like me, I like to see people's faces. But occasionally they're on page 4. And I've forgotten that's where they are. So I'm talking to the 25 I've got. All of a sudden, someone asks a question. I don't know where they are. So I'm having to find them. And here's the issue for Zoom and for the next 20 years, in my humble opinion. So I have been teaching for probably the last 5 years that if you trust your staff, you don't all have to be in the workplace. So we could have been on Zoom and been ready for this 5 years ago, but lots and lots of lions who were the predominant MDs and CEOs, who are in disc terms high Ds, or they're reds if you're doing Colourworks or Insight. And if you're Myers-Briggs, I've got no idea because I can't remember all the connotations.
If you're Enneagram, it's the 3s and the 8s. So we can we can throw all the profiles in here.
We'll be 3 days later, we'll still be talking about what they are. But the lions, if you think about King of the Jungle, they didn't trust their staff. So they wanted staff to come in at 9 o'clock, put their jacket on the back of the chair. Lunch was at 1. You came back at 2 and you left at about 5:30. I will tell you now a secret, and you're going to maybe agree or disagree. In the morning, 98% of staff cannot work for longer than about 42 minutes without a break. Maximum, if you're an elephant or a lion, by the way. If you're a monkey, it's about 20 minutes. So the idea that you're going to bring people into an office and they've traveled 2 hours by train, or they've flown somewhere for a team meeting, and at 9 o'clock, they bring the coffee and the biscuits in, and then we start going on. Then we look at Facebook, LinkedIn, we do all that stuff. Most people could have done half of that at home. So you're a dad with 3 kids. Do you have to drive from Johannesburg to the other side of Valcom to go to some place to work, to then spend 8 hours, 9 hours in front of a screen? You might have 1 or 2 meetings, and then spend 2.5 hours driving back. So your mental and emotional resilience has been ruined before you've even started. And then you get home and your wife and the 3 kids run at you. They want you to do stuff. Then comes the weekend. And weekends, if you're a young dad, is the weekend. Then you go back to work on the Monday morning. So all of a sudden now we've got Zoom, or we've got WebEx, we've got team meetings. If you know you've got a team meeting and you start at 5 to 9, as long as you can get down the stairs via the washing and get a cup of tea, you can be at your desk at 1 minute to 9. So now I'm at the desk with you at 1 minute to 2 in England time, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Johannesburg, and I'm ready to play with you. I can only concentrate for about 42 minutes. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a great comedian, but someone like Michael McIntyre or Peter Kay, they do a break after 40 minutes on a live set. And they are exceptionally funny, Graeme. You are not. So you're going to be on stage. You're going to be on stage doing some heavy stuff. And the organizer say, if you can just do 90 minutes. That's just way too long to assimilate the type of brilliance that you're going to share. And your stuff is all about the future, how we're going to be redirected. And after 25 minutes, I'm a bit irritable. I then start nudging the guy next to me. I can't stand up because it will look embarrassing if we're in a conference. On Zoom, what I then sometimes do, I just blacken my name, pretend I'm not there, go and have a drink, have a pee, come back. But if you knew that I was in the audience and you said, right, let's entertain Nigel, because he's one of the monkeys. So this is how I do your talk. There'd be a massive, bold statement, over the next 10 years, the world's going to change by XXX. Then the lions know this is valuable. I already have been told you're brilliant because the intro. And then you tell me we're going to have some fun over the next 25 minutes. I'm going to share with you some ideas which you can use immediately. I don't want to know about 9 years' time. I can't remember what I did yesterday, and I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. I want to know what I'm doing in the next 20 minutes. For the elephants, you're going to produce a PDF document for everybody. By the time they leave, they can go online and they're going to see the 792 Graeme Codrington steps to a bigger, brighter future today, tomorrow, next year. See, I need to remember what the name is. And the dolphins just want to make sure we're all safe. Now, if you could produce that speech in the first 4 minutes, you would engage with 95% of the audience. What tends to happen is you go on stage and you share your stuff, and I'm not involved. Well, I'm bored now. And when I'm bored, I'm an internal terrorist. Now I'm going to share something.
for the elephants who are listening to us. And by the way, those of you who are listening to us live, the one benefit of listening live is you are welcome to ask any questions. So directly go into the chat box. If this is your first time with Webinar Jam, it's on the right-hand side if you're on your computer, and I think you have to flick your phone up if you're on your phone. Please just put any questions you have for Nigel and myself into the chat box. I'll pick them up and throw them across to Nigel. But my question is, and maybe this is proving once again your analysis of me as an elephant, is to say, so you did a brilliant job there of kind of standing in my shoes about what I need to do in terms of, there we go, the masks as well. So take us through the same process. You're the CEO or you're a team leader, and tomorrow morning you've got a Zoom call with your whole team that gets the day started. What's the first 3 or 4 minutes need to look like? Realizing they're probably all 4 of those types represented in your team.
First thing you've got to do is you've got to be enthusiastic. And I don't want bad news as your opening line. I want to know we feel safe. It's great we're all here. And I want to do a few acknowledgements for certain people who've done some amazing stuff. But I may do a check-in really quickly 5 minutes before the meeting, so people mark themselves between 1 and 10. So I'll do something real. I'll do something live with you now.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Between 1 and 10, how are you feeling right this second?
7.
Okay. 3 minutes before we started, when I couldn't get online, and
Yes.
you'd already texted me twice,
yeah.
and we're going live at 2 o'clock, how are you feeling?
There were a lot of things going on, but a bit of a 5, I suppose.
Okay.
It was a bit less than
Right,
now.
But, so just imagine you're normally a 9, okay?
Yeah.
And I know that Graham's nearly a 9. He's a professional speaker. And I now know you're a 5. That's a massive drop. Yeah. I need to find out before we start the meeting what's going on either in you personally or in your business life. I don't know if I want you joining in on a Zoom meeting. I may ask you to not join the meeting, go home to your kids, go to see the doctor if you found a lump or you're not feeling well.
Take a gap. So be caring, be empathetic. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you were normally a 4 and today you're an 8, I want you to share really quickly what's going on in your world to lift the energy up.
Okay. Nice.
So in small teams, the job of a CEO is to know where their people are and very quickly say to everyone, welcome. Great to be here. And you know this more than anyone. People can manage change. They cannot deal with uncertainty.
Absolutely.
So we know there's change going on in the world, and we know social distancing, we know shopping's going to be different. We know all that. It's not a surprise. What we're really nervous about is the uncertainty. So the elephants and dolphins are panicking because there's no system, there's no structure. They don't know what to do. So if I was working for your organization, and I know that you need certainty and you need structure and you need a PDF, I will address that really quickly and say, Graeme, relax with the presentation. I've got notes designed for you. So be in the room, listen. Some of the points I'm not going to cover, but I've got a checklist for you. As soon as we finish this program, press on PDF 1 and it'll be in your inbox. All of a sudden now you can relax. The dolphins now think I'm a wonderful boss because I've thought about you. The monkeys are going, I'm not even going to be alive in the next 7 weeks, so who cares? And the lions just want to know they're going to get their bonus.
Okay.
So very quickly, when I give I don't do feedback, I do feed forward. People cannot cope with feedback. Just thought I'd share this with you. This is a new thing for you, Graeme. This phrase of 360-degree feedback is an absolute killer for monkeys and dolphins. So your middle child, do not say to her, I've got a bit of feedback for you. What she's heard from you is, my dad hates me.
Yeah.
What she wants is feed forward because she's your greatest joy and we want to make it even better. What she's heard, though, when you say, when I get home, just a bit of feedback for you, not good news.
Yeah. So the elephant's excited about the feedback because I can incorporate that information and improve my system. The lion's excited about feedback because you're going to help me win. You're going to help me do better.
But never in public.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Never give lions feedback because what you've actually said to a lion is...
Because there's an ego issue with the lion. Yeah.
So when I work with CEO groups, I've got lots of lions, I've got lots of elephants, lots of monkeys, very few dolphins, by the way, very few.
They don't often make it to senior leadership. Hey, yeah.
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 And what's interesting, HR, human resources and training used to be dolphins. They're now much more lions and elephants.
Interesting. That is a shift. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that is a shift. Yeah.
So in the old days, when you had your quadrant, you had the CEO who was a lion.
Yeah.
Chief marketing officer was a monkey. Your chief legal officer or the CFO was a elephant, and you had HR training nurses who were dolphins. And for many years, and for many years, that's how we thought it was. So Richard Branson, as an example, is a massive monkey.
Yes.
Who upsets the city all the time because he doesn't do proper forecasts. He then decides to go on a helter-skelter. He's doing galactic space stuff. There's no definite plans. Elon Musk as a Tesla, you'd think he's an engineer. He's a massive monkey, crazy ideas.
Yeah.
He does a tweet and his stock value goes down 18 billion, but he doesn't care because he's a monkey and he can do stuff again.
Not his issue, right? Not his issue, yeah.
You then have some of your politicians in South Africa or in England, Gordon Brown, who was a great chancellor, but an absolute shite prime minister because he didn't have personal skills. Yeah. And you often find that elephants are brilliant accountants, lawyers, civil engineers, structural engineers, because they are detailed. You remember the Channel Tunnel that got built in England and France?
Yep.
Can you imagine if monkeys had built that? It would be relatively close.
Close enough for them.
Yeah, well, that's the point. See, to me, if I finish this presentation and I've got 92% of the information I want delivered, that's phenomenal. I've never got 92% of my life. If you delivered only 92% of your material, instead of thinking that's an A star or honours in any other word, you'd be going, I left out 8%.
Fell short.
You would beat yourself up the whole way home. I'm ecstatic that I got in the 9s. Because monkeys and elephants work in a different way. So you have to appreciate your team. And I'm going to share a little secret for you. Do you know the reason why people come to work?
To make some money.
Okay, so I thought you were going to say that. That's not the reason why people come to work. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of education for you.
Okay.
The only reason why people come to work is to get their personal needs met.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I'll go with that.
Here we go, though. Do you know that your wife's top 5 personal needs? And I hope she listens to this, okay?
She probably is listening to it, or she might do. I think I would. I'm not necessarily going to list them out loud here in public, but
but I'll do a deal with you. You write it down, and send it to me in the next 20 minutes. Yeah, and I'm going to email your wife, and if you get all 5 right, I'll give you R1 million.
Yeah,
if you get any one of the 5 wrong, hold on. If you get any one of the 5 wrong, you have to give me $500. Okay, that's pretty good odds. Wouldn't you agree?
No, because I'm sure I'm not going to get them.
No, but don't you find that bizarre? This is the woman you love, the woman you've been with the most of your life. She's your most special person in the world, and you don't know her top 5 personal needs. Now imagine you're running a team. And, we've got a special mastermind group, as you know. There's 12 of us, 12 world's greatest speakers. I'm chairing the next meeting. I just thought I'd share this. If I don't know your personal needs, how do I facilitate a proper meeting?
Yeah.
If your needs are that you want PDF documents and someone else wants a coffee break after 40 minutes and someone else wants a headline and we want to have it all over Facebook and LinkedIn, and I just want to make sure, I've got my chocolate.
Ooh, very nice.
But what I'm saying is, if you don't know your team's personal needs, and I'm being disrespectful here, there's no future. You have got to know your people's top 5 person. And then what you're doing as a zookeeper, and there's a special hat which we award very few people, which is a special zookeeper hat. If you get awarded the zookeeper hat, it means you know your team's top 5 personal needs. Nice. Now, how many CEOs do you think have ever taken me up on this deal?
0.
I offer it weekly. But don't you find this amazing? I'm offering them $1 million.
I know.
And I want $500 back, and you nearly shat yourself. I watch you because your wife will kill you that you don't know the answer. And this is the most precious person. So how can you communicate with her? Suppose after this interview, she's got to go to Pick and Pay, or she's got to go to KFC, and she needs you to look after the 2 girls, and she's told you 4 times. And then you say, look, I've got another interview to do. I can't do it. How would she feel? And she's your most precious person in the world. So now you go to your team, and no one has asked me. So I got sent this yesterday.
Lovely.
How do you think I felt when someone sent me a chocolate bar with saying thank you?
Top of the world. 10 out
So
of 10.
let me tell you my top 5 personal needs as a monkey. Okay.
Yeah.
Dairy milk chocolate. Diet Coke. Okay. Someone to pick me up at an airport with my name on a board.
Yeah.
I put my memory stick in someone's computer, and there's an engineer who does it, and I don't have to do a run through. Okay. If I get those personal needs met, I'm one of the best speakers in the universe. Okay.
Yeah.
If I turn up and there's a plastic cup on stage, which you and I have been many times, and there's no Diet Coke, and there's no chocolate in my green room or by my chair, and they want me to do an hour rehearsal, and they can't use my memory stick because it's not on whatever, and there's no one meeting at the airport, I'm an absolute, get ready for this, a new animal for you. I turn into a hyena. Now, I've done a new book, and I literally can lose it in 1 second because my personal needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you what you do, by the way. So if you turn up and there's 4 computer banks, and they've got your slides in advance, and there's someone who picked you up, and in your room, there's an agenda, there's details, the speaker before you, the speaker after you, and your wife and kids can listen to the gantry, and it's all set up. If all that's done, would you say you're one of the best speakers in the world?
Yeah, need structure, systems, need all of that in place. Yeah.
If there's not that there, you turn into a rhinoceros. Okay. And let me tell you what rhinoceroses do. They go very quiet, they go solitary, they hide, and then they charge. And when you charge, you are not pleasant. So that lovely face and that lovely father and all the lovely things people say about you, you turn and you become nasty.
Yeah, that dark side.
So one of the things that I have developed, but let me tell you the best of the dolphins. What do you think dolphins turn into?
Sharks.
Yeah. So let me tell you about sharks. Sharks can smell blood in water 2.5 miles away.
Yeah.
So they can smell bullshit in an organization really quickly. So what dolphins do is they trust the world. They're caring, they're nurturing, they're supportive. If you let them down 3 times, you'll never get the trust back ever.
Yeah. You'll
never get the compassion. And we've done some research on trust. Would you like to know some research about trust? You're like this.
Go for it.
If there's trust in the workplace, 74% less stress, 106% more energy at work, 50% higher productivity, 13% fewer sick days, 76% more engagement, just by having trust in the workplace. And you get trust in the workplace by knowing your people's needs. So communication is not complicated. You've just got to know your people.
And then you've got to know that different members of your team need to be communicated with or engaged with in different ways. It's not a one size fits all.
Just imagine that I did my interview with you in my normal monkey style. I'd be all over the place, standing up, and I've got some great animal hats, and all of a sudden I'd be doing this in the middle of it. Yeah, I think that's funny. That may not be funny to some people.
Sure.
And so you've got to know your audience and know what's acceptable. So I often will start off with a question and do a little game very early on. The lions want to win. The elephants never heard all the instructions, and they can't play till I've gone over the instructions about 5 times. The dolphins want to help other people, and the monkeys have started before I've finished.
Yes.
So I'm watching the room, whether there's 2 people or 5,000 people, and I can literally move people around to know that's what's going on.
Brilliant.
And the greatest listeners and the greatest, I was going to say eyesight, if you watch people really well, The greatest leaders listen with their eyes. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
The greatest leaders listen with their eyes. So I'm watching people all the time. It's hard work and it's tiring.
Yeah.
Because I'm constantly looking to see what little words you use. So I had a friend of mine that said, if you're not sure you can get away with a joke, don't say it. Because you're going to insult a good 25% of people. I used to say, well, I'm a monkey. What can I do? That's not good enough anymore. So the new job of greater leaders, and especially for you for the future, instead of being a better animal, you've got to become a better zookeeper.
Yeah. You've got to manage all different animals. So Diane's asking a question which I wanted to ask. You didn't quite finish the story. What do lions turn into when they don't get what they want?
Okay, so that's as classic as it goes. As a monkey, I totally forgot I hadn't said it. And that's what I often do on stage, that I'll get waylaid onto another story. So lions turn into tigers. Now, if you know about tigers, tigers only meet other tigers for two reasons: to fight or to mate. Yeah. There's no social interaction with tigers. So lions are really great as a pride. You have female lions that hunt and male lions that protect. But I'm going to give you one new animal here. Okay, you ready for this? This is a bit of a special bonus for you. Certain lions can be leopards. Okay. So you've got your classic lion who needs to work in a team. They have a pride. And if you know much about the Serengeti and the wilderness, a 2 or 3 year old male lion gets kicked out of the camp by the rest of the female lions, and they've got to find their own troop. Yeah. Imagine in a sales team, you've got a lion that's working in an office, especially life assurance, for example, or an estate agent, and you say, you're doing a really great job. I'm going to move you to set up your own branch. If you're a normal lion, you're going to fail, unless you're what I call a leopard leader, because leopards are solitary fighters. So you've got to know your lions really well. And just because they're doing a brilliant job in one team doesn't mean they can start another team on their own. Yeah. Now, I'm going to be different to you on this. As a speaker, I'm really a leopard speaker. I don't like collaborating with people. I don't really like having a joint stage session, even with my best mate, Jeff. I quite like to be on the stage on my own. So I like working on my own, but I like having fun. Jeff is very similar. So the two of us come together, we play a bit, but we do our own little sections. Be very careful with lions in promoting them to be solitary. Lions aren't really solitary animals. Leopards are, and so are tigers. And tigers, yeah. So I've done lots and lots of work with, we have 9 new animals in my latest book, Zookeeper Rules for the Office. We started with 4, which was a book called It's a Zoo Around Here. There's only 4. But I don't know if you know that I wrote the book in the style of the animals. So for the monkeys, there's lots of coloured paper. For the lions, there's not many words on each page because we know you're very busy people. For the elephants, how brilliant! Dance. And for the dolphins, we printed it on recycled paper. Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Now, what I'm saying is, even when I wrote the book, I was thinking of the animals. Yes, yes. If it was all graphs. So my second book is much more for lions and elephants. Right. So if you get the concept, then you move on to the second book. Yeah. It's no use going to the second book if you don't understand the first book. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's lots more graphs. I mean, you'll be in your element with the new book because there's pages and pages of things to do. You know, well, I've read your first book and I thought it was brilliant. But this is much more for you. This is like an orgasm for you, Graeme. There's lots of things you can do with this. Definitely. But what I'm saying is, it's on its way to you. What I'm saying to you, though, is that most people, when they write a book, and I'm sure your books are quite thick with lots of material. Just hang on a second. Hang on a second. So, whilst he's gone away, I just want to remind everyone. Yes. Yeah. Here's my book. Yeah. I mean, you need to understand that as an elephant, that's like War and Peace. And is there a couple of graphs or pictures somewhere? Oh yes, definitely. But my publisher even had to talk me down from putting in a fold-out insert in this. I had all those plans. But you see, even the book there tells me, there's one of your colleagues, another futurist in the UK who you know, that I didn't know him before, but his books were on all the conference tables when I got there. So I spoke in the afternoon, and I get my book up, and I said, I promise you, the speaker before me was an elephant. And of course, the audience collapsed because his book was like that thick. There was like one picture somewhere. I said, I don't even know who he is. He might be a lovely bloke. But that book was written by an elephant for elephants.
For elephants.
My book is written by a monkey for the world, but you can read it in 2 toilet sittings.
No. You're wrong, Nigel. Your book was written by a zookeeper. Isn't that
very clever. Very clever. Very a long-lasting listen.
I was listening.
Yeah.
So that's the point. And Nigel, thank you. That's so great to get that insight. And I hope this has been interesting for those of you who joined us. You see the passion that Nigel brings, and you can see that even when his computer fails him and he has to zip across to his phone at the last minute, he can bring this across in webinar format and into your offices even now. Nigel, I've put your website, it's nigelrisner.com. I've put that into the chat for those of you who are watching us. For those live.
We have a free personality test on our website.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Go online. If they go under the theories, I find it hard to believe we have a theories section. Who knew? I swear to God, till about 4 weeks ago, I didn't even know it was there because I couldn't find the quiz. I knew we had a quiz. So you go into theories. There is a free personality test.
Brilliant.
And it's free. Have some fun with it. Within a minute, you'll find out which animal you are.
And obviously, if anybody wants to connect with you, Nigel, the wonderful thing about the COVID world that we now live in is you can pretty much travel anywhere now, can't you?
I did Sri Lanka last Tuesday morning, and I did California in the afternoon. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Renee's saying, what amazing energy, just love it. And the material is fabulous. Thank you. That's what I feel, Nigel. I've loved your stuff for many years. I don't think we've ever had an interview like this ever before. So I'm grateful for COVID giving us the opportunity. It's always great hearing from you.
Thank you, sir. Look, when you have an elephant with a monkey, it's always funny because you've got no idea what's going to come out. But I just want to remind everyone who's listening now, the number 1 tool in the world, communication.
You're absolutely right. So given that communication is the number 1 tool, let me give you the final word. What haven't we said, or what needs to just be reiterated again with people who are saying the COVID is a crisis, but I'm coming out the other side and there's a whole lot of stuff I want to do. Communication obviously has to be the number 1 priority. What do people need to know?
You've got to be enthusiastic if you're going to communicate. And if you've got, Abraham Lincoln had a great line. He said, people over the age of 12 are responsible for their faces. And if you're on Zoom and if you're communicating, you've got to have some passion. If somebody had said, look, it was okay, the information, but I didn't get any energy, I'd be gutted. Energy sells, passion sells. So I used to tell people, I have a fetish for PVC. Passion, vision, and communication. and if you've got passion and your vision for the future and you can communicate well, between the two of us, we can conquer the world. I've got the passion, you've got the vision, and if we communicate that together to the world, we will make it.
Love it. PVC, everybody. You've got to get yourself some PVC to get out the other side of the house. There's your takeaway. Nigel, thanks as always. Getting a lot of thank yous and brilliance in the comments. It really has been. All the best for whatever you do next in your monkey brain. And thank you for sticking with me for 50 minutes.
That's a long time for me, trust me.
That's a long time. It's been great, Nigel. Go
well. Thank you so much.
Cheers, everybody.